Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to the 143. We're coming at you live with episode 104. Back in the studio.
Yeah, we're back together. We know it was rough having to endure the Zoom calls, but, we got to bring content every week, rain or shine.
Exactly.
Whether we're together or apart. So that obviously happened, but it's good to be back together in College Station at the 143.
It's nice to be able to hear what each other is saying without a lag or without a
you get
without a freezing.
You get a conversation with no delay.
So that's always nice. Big week in the NFL. This is our playoff preview episode. A lot of stuff happened last week. A lot of teams choked that needed to win, and so we've got the playoff picture now. Pretty pumped for this time, but that also means in about a month, football will be over. And it's like, it feels like it just started, but we're riding through the playoffs now. Dallas Cowboys got the 2 seed like we needed to do, lock that up against Washington. That was looking like it could have been a choke game there for a little bit, but we pulled it out. Won very convincingly, 38-10. We'll talk about that in a sec, but stat of the week brought to you by Andrews Logistics is, Nick, I don't know if you remember last season, but Dak threw 23 touchdowns and 15 interceptions. And you would have thought he's the worst QB to ever walk the face of the earth, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, we weren't happy with him, but the media was acting like he was done. Well, guess who threw that same number of touchdown passes and interceptions?
It could not possibly be Jalen Hurts.
It's Jalen Hurts. But have you heard about it?
No,
I haven't heard about it.
I have not, because he doesn't wear a star on the side of his helmet.
Yeah, so the worst QB ever last season based on statistics was Dak. This season, same statistics, Jalen Hurts, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, y'all probably haven't heard about that because the media's been keeping that one on the DL. But
speaking of that, Dak's he had been getting a hard time at the beginning of the season talking about not having 10 interceptions. Well, he ended the season with 9.
Kept his word.
I mean, he's a man of his word. So that'll just flow right into Player of the Week, Dakota Rain Prescott.
Got to give it to him.
My clear choice for NFL MVP.
Absolutely.
Came out huge in a game that meant winning the division and winning the 2 seed. So it was a little double whammy there. A must-win for the Cowboys just to get that peak playoff seeding. Threw for 279 yards, 4 touchdowns with only 1 interception. So he showed up and showed out when we needed it. That
also shouldn't have been a pick.
Yeah, that's true. It was one of those ones that got tipped at the line by a defensive lineman, but hey, he threw less than 10, so that's all we care about.
Yep, not much to say about the Washington game, but as we look towards the playoffs, the Cowboys will play the Packers. Mike McCarthy revenge game. The NFL scriptwriters, Nick, did a good job this week.
They got it.
A lot of revenge games coming up. So
Matthew Stafford's headed back to Ford Field to face off against his old team, the Detroit Lions.
Honestly, outside of the Cowboys game, that's the game that I'm looking forward to this weekend.
I'm seeing that's a possible upset alert. I think.
Just the fact that the Lions haven't won a playoff game in 30 years. Matt Stafford took them to a few, couldn't win it. He's going into Detroit, and he's trying to get the job done for LA. We're rooting for LA as Cowboys fans. If LA wins, they will play the Niners, and then we would play the winner of the Bucs-Eagles game. Don't care who it is. But so that'll be an interesting one. We're rooting for the Rams. If you're a Cowboys fan, you're rooting for the Rams. Don't want to play the Lions right now. They weren't too happy last time they came to our stadium.
Yeah, they'll be playing with they'll be coming in with a chip on their shoulder.
That's never a good thing.
But then also another team also on upset alert. Got to be the Eagles. They're facing off against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa Bay, and there's kind of a contrast there of the Eagles have been playing horribly the last 5 games of the season.
1-5 in their last 6, I think.
And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have been playing a lot better the last 5 games of the season. Obviously, it was a very boring win 9-0 against the Panthers to end the
Yeah.
season, but I mean they got the job done.
Those divisional games are tough. You come out of there with a win.
Those
you're
are
happy.
always close, the interdivisional matchups, just because each team's got the other's number. So
Those games that
those always pan out pretty well.
those Week 18 need to win and definitely should win games like us against the Commanders. Those are just ones that you're like, are they going to win it? Which one of those was actually all Jacksonville had to do was win, and they would clinch the AFC South against the Tennessee Titans, who were already out of it. And
Nothing to play for there.
They didn't. So Trevor Lawrence showed again, I think, that he's not very good. He's had a really bad season.
I mean, they started out of the gate really, really hot. If I remember correctly, I believe they were 8-2.
8-3.
8-3
probably 8-2.
At one point, and then they just stalled out. Trevor Lawrence was kind of throwing a lot of interceptions here and there, and then I guess so they finished the season 9-8. So from the way it started to the way it ended,
I mean,
it was just really abrupt.
I just wanted to point that out because everyone said that they were going to win the Super Bowl this year or go to the Super Bowl.
I mean, they were picked to be the
number one
seed in the AFC by a lot of
didn't
people
happen.
at the beginning of the season, and I heard a lot of people saying that Trevor Lawrence would have been in the MVP conversation at the outset of the season. Obviously, that's not true.
He never really was in the MVP conversation from week 1 on.
No.
So because of that, the Texans get the AFC South. They will be playing Joe Flacco and the Cleveland Browns in Houston on Saturday. Honestly, another game that we're pumped for.
I mean, to be honest with you, I'm all in on Joe Flacco. I mean,
Love it.
It's hard to not be a fan. Joe Flacco, I mean,
37 years old, come out of retirement.
Yeah.
Literally off the couch, they said.
Like, out of the wheelchair,
This Browns team has been battered with injuries. Like, everyone thought they were done. They lost Nick Chubb, Deshaun Watson. They lost some O-linemen and some defensive guys that were key. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, this is a whole new team. Joe Flacco turned this thing around.
He played a lot of really good football when he was a Baltimore Raven, but then, he was in the Jets quarterback room as he was the QB3 for a little bit, QB2, got a couple looks here and there as the starter. As you know, they've had their issues with quarterbacks, and then he comes to the Browns and he just shows out, really kind of revives the squad because they were not looking good with Deshaun Watson. I mean, we knew they had a good defense, and they've proven that before. And Joe Flacco comes in, and he gets that offense zinging.
Yeah. They're saying, I mean, this is a little bit of a revenge game in the fact that, like, Houston is the team that had Deshaun Watson. Cleveland's the team that took Deshaun Watson. So that's how those two teams connect right there. There's just a couple connections.
Yeah.
That's shaping up to be a good game. Obviously, Cleveland's defense is phenomenal. I think we're rooting for Cleveland because of Joe Flacco, but C.J. Stroud has been electric this year for the Texans. And for the Texans at this point, and kind of the Browns, I mean, they're both playing with house money because the Texans are way ahead of schedule. They were not supposed to be this good this year. And they came out, shocked the world. Like, all their team is rookies. I mean, they're really young.
DeMeco Ryan came in, and he turned the franchise around in literally a season. Like, we're thinking, I mean, obviously, no one really knew if he was the right guy or not, but obviously, I think this season proves absolutely yes. The success they're having this year is something that you would be expecting within the next, 2 to 3 years.
That was the time frame.
Once they, draft some better guys, they build up their squad. But, I mean, they really hit it out of the park this year with the draft. Mm-hmm. And all these rookies are coming in and really playing a huge role. And, the future's looking bright for the Houston Texans if all these players can continue to do what they have been doing.
Yeah, I mean, so win or lose on Saturday for the Texans has been a very successful season, winning the division when no one thought they would. Reason we want the Browns to win is because if they win, they will probably most likely face the Ravens. And then you get a Joe Flacco revenge game in Baltimore. So we're just hoping for the great stories out there. But if the Texans win, I'd be fine with that too. But hopefully Joe Flacco will come out of there with a dub. Another revenge game, Tyreek Hill and the Dolphins kind of wet the bed against the Buffalo Bills, lost the division in Week 18's matchup. They will go on the road to face Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes in -5-degree weather. Could be the coldest game.
It'll be a cold one
in
up
history,
there.
is what they're saying. Coldest game in history.
A lot of people were wondering, would Patrick Mahomes still get a home playoff game this year? Obviously, they've been playing in a very weak division, so they're guaranteed at least one home playoff game. But he's still riding strong with the home playoff game. He gets one.
Yeah, I think I still think it'll be an interesting game. Both of these teams have been really disappointing lately. The Chiefs and the Dolphins.
Yeah, the Dolphins only beat one team above 500, of course. Had to be the Cowboys.
Yep.
That was awesome.
It was the Cowboys. Ended up not really.
You remember that heartbreaker, but we bounced back. Here we are, the 2 seed.
I mean, the 2 seed is optimal because ideally you win the first game, you will get a second home game.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then after that, you either go to San Francisco or you get another home game if they lose to the Rams, hopefully. So it's just one of those things where the 2 seed's great. Obviously, would have loved the 1 seed, but San Francisco dominated this year in the NFC. But yeah, with the Cowboys right now, we're just focused on the Packers. The thing with the Packers is their offense with Jordan Love has been good recently. Their defense is not. Is the main thing. Is the defense has been a real letdown for the Packers this year. And so whether or not they're putting up points, like, we need to be right there with them.
I don't think for Cowboys fans, this game, it's not that you're necessarily scared of this Packers squad. It's just all the history that's there because we've just had such bad luck
last 5
in
games
recent years playing the Packers.
Like, we're 0-5 against Packers.
So obviously that kind of rolls around in the back of your mind. Not that this Packers squad is particularly strong, but it's just historically we have always struggled against Green Bay.
We've been Cowboys fans for a while. A lot of people have been, and just the Cowboys have been known to not. I mean, this is the playoffs, and lately we're really good in the regular season. Come playoff time, we're not, and it's been Dak's MA. This is kind of like this is Dak's time to prove it. He's done really good this regular season. He should get the MVP. He probably won't. It's time to play MVP caliber football here in the next 4 games.
Yeah, I mean, the unfortunate thing, too, is, no one's really going to remember what you've done the last 17 games of the regular season as the Cowboys quarterback. They're going to pin all your worth and all your value on these next couple games.
That's how it is in sports.
However many you play in the playoffs. So you just got to, make the most of this opportunity.
You don't win the last game of the season.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
And that's absolutely true.
And that's how it's going to go. I mean, only one team out of 32 is going to get to hoist that Super Bowl trophy, and hopefully it's us this year. Now, we look different. I would say we look different.
Absolutely.
I don't want to.
Offense looks a lot better.
This is not the same team we had last year going into the playoffs.
CD has been absolutely out of his mind this year.
I think he solidified himself as a true 88 for the Cowboys this year. I mean, he broke every record he had.
You could make excuse me, sorry. You could make the case that he is the best wide receiver in the NFL. I mean if you look at the statistics,
he leads in everything.
Everything points to him being the best.
The only thing he doesn't lead in is receiving yards, but he leads in total yards. So he's had a few runs. I'm just saying. Hey, he's only 30 yards off of the receiving yard thing.
Yeah, acting like he's down by he's beat by like 300. Okay.
So I would say CeeDee's been the most productive receiver in the NFL this year. And then, CeeDee's gotten hot when it matters. Tyreek's kind of been declining. CeeDee's getting hot. I think, it should be hopefully like a good win. Hopefully it's not a really close game. But at this point, it doesn't matter how you win. You just got to win.
Yeah,
so,
it could be ugly. It could be,
yeah,
pretty. However it happens, as long as you get that win.
I
think
I agree.
For Cowboys fans, ideal scenario for the NFC would be obviously Cowboys win.
Mm-hmm.
Bucks beat Philadelphia, and then the Rams beat the Lions, and then we get the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at home, and then the Bucks go and play San Francisco, and then we beat Tampa Bay, and then the Rams somehow, by some miracle, beat the 49ers.
It could happen. Those divisional playoff matchups are
And then we get an
interesting.
NFC Championship game at home.
See, with the thing with the divisional, playing a divisional rival in the playoffs is like they've been away. You know, they've been to that stadium. They've played in that stadium. They've played that team already twice that year. It's a little bit different. But I will say, like, if Philly beats Tampa, which I think they're probably favored to do, I'm not scared of playing the Eagles either.
I'm not scared of whoever we end up playing from that game.
And honestly, there's a small part of me that wants to play the Eagles and just trash them
Absolutely.
again.
To just shut them up. You know, they've been
Overhyped.
all
for
year
so
long, and obviously losing to the Cardinals at the beginning of the season was really frustrating because we had been getting
I'm a huge Cardinals fan now.
junk all year long for losing that game, and then just for the Cardinals to come out and beat the Eagles at Philadelphia just made it so much better.
I agree. One matchup we haven't talked about that we should talk about is the Steelers sneaking into the playoffs at the 7th seed,
With
playing the
Mason
Bills.
Rudolph.
Look at that. I mean, that's a little bit like Joe Flacco in the fact that Mason Rudolph hadn't played in 3 years.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's only been known for the Myles Garrett incident where Myles Garrett swung his helmet at him. And Mason Rudolph coming out, just George Pickens and Deontay Johnson, finally utilizing the weapons that they have on that Steelers team because they have weapons. They just hadn't been using them. And so they look great. I mean, Najee Harris has been running the ball really well like the last few games, which is surprising. I don't think the Bills have an easy win. Nothing about the Bills versus Dolphins game on Sunday night showed me either team is good.
You know, the big frustration there for a lot of the season with the Steelers fans was their offensive coordinator, Matt Canada. You know, there were those chants all in Pittsburgh
Everywhere.
about fire Matt Canada, and then it finally happened. And the offense has looked a little bit better, but also they started to win more games is the big thing. And so
I'm pretty sure Mason Rudolph hasn't lost a game yet.
they finished the season 10-7. You know, Mike Tomlin always finding a way to finish 500 or better, and they earned themselves a playoff spot against the Bills. And the way they've been playing, they're hot. So obviously the Bills are going to be favored in that one, but
they're at
it's
home.
by no means an easy win. You know, you still got to show up and
I
play
still-
your best football.
I personally think that would be a good game. Obviously, it's playoffs. I could be wrong. But the thing is with the Bills, Josh Allen has kind of shown that he's got to, like Dak, he's got to
hasn't
prove himself.
necessarily been clutch in the playoffs, unfortunately, but obviously he's got a chance to prove himself here, and so does Dak. So we're all
Yeah.
super excited.
Hey, if the Chiefs beat the Dolphins, the Bills beat the Steelers, I think it'd be Bills Chiefs, a classic, you know, playoff matchup we're used to seeing, and a little bit of a rivalry, but this time it'd be in Buffalo.
Josh Allen gets another shot at Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, it's a game changer because it would be in Buffalo. You know, they're used to playing in Kansas City. It's always a good one when those two teams face off, but we'll see how it happens.
Yeah, man, the thing with the Chiefs is Patrick Mahomes can't throw and catch the ball, and right now they're really lacking in the receiver department. And what they should have done at the trade deadline was get a receiver, and they got nobody. So that's really hurting them. Pacheco's a really good back. They've got a good defense, but
Travis Kelce's been having a bit of an off year for him. You know, he's putting up
Yeah, he
numbers
is.
that we're not used to seeing from him.
he's putting up normal tight end numbers.
Yeah, he's looking like a regular tight end. And they got Rashee Rice out there at wide
he's been
receiver.
good.
He's been good, but it's like you can't expect a rookie wide receiver to carry that sorry wide receiver room.
They just don't have a wide
Success.
receiver one. I mean, Valdez Scantling was brought in kind of to be that guy, and obviously he's shown that he's
They
not.
thought it was going to be Kadarius Toney for a while. Or I guess whenever they first brought him in, they thought it was also possibly going to be Sky Moore. But all of a sudden, conveniently this season, all 4 or 5 of their receivers or whatever decided to have stone hands. And so the drops have been an issue for the Kansas City Chiefs, but we'll see how they do in the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree. I think we have a good wild card slate. So as long as the Cowboys take care of business, I'm excited to see what the
That's the one game
rest
that
of
really
them.
matters.
Absolutely. I'm just so tired of winning the first game and losing the second. So Obviously, 1 week at a time, but let's make a deep run this year.
I was gonna say I think people are also looking at us to get upset by the Packers, which is not going to happen.
They are.
Obviously, let's just not get ahead of ourselves. You just take it 1 week at a time.
Yep.
Obviously, you got the Super Bowl in mind, but your focus is beating the Packers. That's the only thing that matters right now.
Yeah, exactly. And, they sent out this thing, everybody white out the stadium, whoever's going, and let's not we have a tendency in Dallas to let the opposing fans.
I better not see any green or yellow there at the game.
Like when the 49ers came to town and just like
half the
60%
stadium
of our
was red.
It was ridiculous. That better not happen again, Dallas. Okay? The Packers fans might be, in a lot of polls that I've seen, Packers fans are voted the most annoying NFL fans.
I mean, obviously,
it's between us, the Eagles, and the Packers. Okay?
As a Cowboys fan, I'm gonna say it's the Eagles.
It definitely is the Eagles.
Interdivisional rivalry.
I'm just saying the Packers and the Cowboys fans are similar in the fact that these teams have been kind of legacy teams. They've been good for a long time. Like, hey, let's not let their fans take over our stadium. All right, they can have Lambeau.
I guess we should point out with the way the Cowboys ended the season, Mike McCarthy gets. This is the third 12-5 season that he has had in a row as the Cowboys head coach. So, I mean, that's looking pretty good. He's been
Absolutely.
a lot better this season. At the outside of the season, I think me and Joseph talked about this a couple times, is, a lot of the blame and a lot of the eyes are going to be looking at Mike McCarthy and Dak, and they have proved, I think, all the haters wrong. We had some skeptics questions about how these two would do, and they have really exceeded all of our expectations. I've been really impressed with both of them. But congrats to Mike McCarthy. Another 12-5 season. I mean, hey,
he's been successful.
That
in
ain't too bad.
Let's take care of business on Sunday.
I mean, that's really all that matters. Just please go out there and win. I don't care about any other game. Just go out there and beat the Packers.
Exactly.
So, here's where I like to end our shows on Under Review. I've brought to you a quote from the Muhammad Ali. He said, "It's just a job. Grass grows, birds fly, waves pound the sand. I beat people up." So you just remember that.
That's true. That is what he did. I mean, that's why he's considered the greatest of all time.
The best at what he did.
Let's do that to the Packers on Sunday, shall we?
Absolutely.
Thank y'all for tuning in this week, and we'll see you next week for the 2-year episode of Under Review.